My phone screen glowed in the dim restaurant light. Account balance, $847,293.52. Below it, the deposit that arrived like clockwork every month, $42,000. After taxes. I turned the screen toward Vivienne Worthington. Her champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. The color drained from her perfectly made-up face. Those ice blue eyes that had looked at me with such contempt 60 seconds ago now stretched wide, locked on the numbers that wouldn't stop being real, no matter how many times she blinked. That can't be real. Her voice came out thin, strangled. Reginald grabbed my phone from the table. His hands shook as he zoomed in, his breathing loud in the sudden silence. The leather booth creaked as he leaned closer to the screen. His lips moved, counting the digits. Once, twice, a third time, like repetition might change the truth. Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Across from me, Desmond sat frozen. My son, 28 years old, and looking at me like I'd just stepped out of a stranger's skin. His jaw hung open. The fork in his hand clattered against his plate. Tabitha's manicured hand flew to her mouth. Her wedding ring caught the chandelier light, throwing tiny rainbows across the white tablecloth. Monthly salary, I said, my voice steady as bedrock. After taxes. The waiter passing our table slowed, sensing something had shifted in the air. Other diners glanced over, drawn by the thick tension rolling off our corner booth like fog. Reginald's face had gone from ruddy confidence to pale shock. Sweat beaded at his hairline. He set my phone down like it might explode, his fingers leaving smudges on the screen. I don't understand. Vivienne's perfectly composed mask cracked down the middle. You said you work in an office. Filing. Administrative work. I do work in an office. I reached into my canvas tote bag, the one she'd looked at earlier with such undisguised disgust. My fingers closed around my wallet, premium leather, though she couldn't have known that from the outside. Corner office on the 47th floor. Meridian Technologies. I'm Senior Vice President of Global Operations. The words landed like grenades. Vivienne's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. I pulled out my corporate card, black metal with silver embossed lettering. I placed it on the table in front of her, where her $75 steak sat getting cold. That's my corporate card. Unlimited spending for business expenses. Use it to pay for dinner tonight. Consider it a gift. I paused, letting her stare at her distorted reflection in the black surface. From the poor, pathetic mother you thought you could buy off with $600 a month. Tabitha made a small sound, something between a gasp and a whimper. You offered me an allowance. My voice cut through the restaurant noise like a blade. $600. To stay away from my son, to not burden his marriage with my poverty. I leaned forward. I spend more than that on a single business lunch. Reginald found his voice. It came out hoarse, desperate. This is outrageous. You deceived us. You lied to everyone. You let us think. I let you show me exactly who you are. The words came out cold enough to frost the windows. People who measure human worth in bank statements, who treat anyone they think is beneath them like trash on the sidewalk. People who smile while they insult, who offer help that's really control dressed up in a bow. Desmond's chair scraped against the floor. Mum, I gave you every opportunity. I looked at Vivienne, then Reginald. Every single chance to be kind, to be decent, to treat me with basic human respect. And you failed. Spectacularly. Vivienne's diamond necklace rose and fell with her rapid breathing. We were trying to help. You thought I was nothing. I stood, my worn shoes suddenly feeling like armor. You looked at my clothes and decided you knew everything about me, about my life, about my worth. I picked up my tote bag. You were wrong. Wait. Reginald stood too, his napkin falling to the floor. You can't just... This doesn't change the fact that you lied, that you've been living a double life for 23 years. I met his eyes. Do you want to know why? The whole table leaned in despite themselves, because I wanted my son to build his own life, make his own money, value his own achievements, not coast on mine, not live in my shadow, not have people wonder if everything he earned was really just his mother's influence. I looked at Desmond. His eyes were wet. I gave you something more valuable than money, sweetheart. I gave you the chance to be self-made. Mum, his voice cracked. You needed to see this too. My throat tightened. Who they really are when they think no one important is watching, when they believe they have all the power, when they think kindness is weakness and poverty is shameful. Vivienne's hand shot out. You had no right. I had every right. I stepped back from the table. You invited me here. You set the stage. You wrote the script. I just stopped playing the role you assigned me. I turned toward the exit, my reflection caught in the window glass. Grey dress, messy bun, canvas bag. But I walked different now, shoulders back, head high. This doesn't change anything. Vivienne's voice rose shrill with panic. You still deceived us. You're still... I didn't turn around, didn't stop walking. The restaurant sounds faded behind me, Desmond calling my name, Tabitha's urgent whisper, Reginald's sputtering protests. The valet opened the door. Cold November air hit my face. The city lights blurred and sharpened. My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone. 3 rings. Edmund? I'm ready for pickup? Yes, the usual car. Behind me, through the glass doors, I could see them. Desmond on his feet, Tabitha pulling him back, Vivienne gesturing wildly, Reginald's face, red as a stop sign. But what had I really done? What bridge had I just burned? And what would tomorrow bring when the shock wore off and the consequences began? 23 years ago, I made a choice in a hospital room with fluorescent lights and a squalling newborn in my arms. I'd just been promoted to director level at Meridian. My husband Marcus stood at the window, his reflection showing me everything I needed to know, the tightness around his mouth, the rigid shoulders, the way he wouldn't look at the baby or at me. They offered me the VP track today, I said. My voice echoed off the mint green walls. Marcus turned. Congratulations. You don't mean that. What do you want me to say, Pauline? He shoved his hands in his pockets. That I'm thrilled my wife makes 3 times what I do? That I love explaining to my colleagues that my wife's the real breadwinner? That it doesn't bother me when your name's in the business section and mine isn't? Baby Desmond whimpered. I adjusted him against my shoulder, breathing in that newborn smell. Milk and powder and infinite possibility. I never asked you to feel less than, I whispered. You don't have to ask. Marcus grabbed his jacket from the chair. It just is. Every day, every promotion, every time someone assumes I'm the successful one, and then finds out the truth. So what are you saying? He looked at Desmond. Something flickered across his face. Love, maybe. Or regret for what he was about to do. I'm saying I can't do this. I can't be Mr. Pauline Sterling. I can't watch you climb while I too. He stopped, started again. I met someone. At work. She's a receptionist. She thinks I'm impressive. She looks at me like I matter. The words should have hurt more. Maybe I was too tired. Maybe some part of me had known for months. When are you leaving? Tonight. I already moved my things out yesterday. He paused at the door. I'll send child support. I'm not a monster, just a coward. His hand tightened on the doorframe. Maybe, but at least I'll feel like a man again. The door clicked shut. Desmond started crying in earnest. And I made a decision right there with tears running down my face and a future suddenly rewritten. My son would never feel the way his father felt, would never measure himself against my success and come up short, would never live in my shadow or question his own worth because of my achievements. I would hide it. All of it. I'd be successful at work, but to Desmond, I'd just be mom, regular, normal, someone he could surpass without guilt. The apartment I found 3 months later sat in a neighborhood the real estate agent called transitional, code for cheap. 2 bedrooms. Radiator that clanked. Linoleum floors in the kitchen. Windows that rattled when trucks passed. Perfect. I furnished it from estate sales and thrift stores, bought a used television, kept my work clothes in a locker at the office and changed before coming home, told the school I worked in administration. Desmond grew up thinking we scraped by, that every dollar mattered, that nothing came easy, and he became exactly what I hoped: driven, hard-working, proud of what he built with his own 2 hands. I never regretted it. Not once, in 23 years, until 6 months ago when he video called me with stars in his eyes. "Mom, I want you to meet someone." Tabitha appeared on screen. Beautiful, poised, clearly from money in the way she held herself, like the world was designed to accommodate her. "It's so lovely to meet you, Mrs. Sterling. Call me Pauline." Sweetheart. We talked for 20 minutes, safe topics. The weather, Desmond's job, how they met at a marketing conference. Then Vivienne's face crowded into frame. Her eyes went straight to the background. The old couch, the water stain on the ceiling I'd never bothered fixing. The television that predated flat screens. What a cozy little place. Her smile was all teeth. "It's home," I said simply. "Tabitha mentioned you work in an office. What do you do there?" The trap was already set. I could see it in the way she leaned closer to the camera, the notebook half visible beside her. This was an interview I hadn't agreed to. Administrative work. Whatever needs doing. How practical. She glanced at someone off screen. Reginald? I'd learn later. We were just telling Tabitha how important family is. Getting to know everyone. Understanding backgrounds. Making sure everyone's compatible. Like we were puzzle pieces she was testing for fit. "I'm sure we'll all get along fine," I said. After the call ended, Desmond stayed on. "Don't worry about her, Mom. She's just protective of Tabitha. Once she gets to know you, it's fine, sweetheart." I understand. But I did understand. Completely. I'd spent 40 years in corporate boardrooms reading people who smiled while calculating your worth. Vivienne Worthington had looked at my apartment and my clothes and my vague job description and filed me under liability. What I didn't understand yet was how far she'd go to eliminate that liability. The engagement party invitation arrived on cream cardstock with gold embossing. The Worthington estate. Formal attire requested. I stood in my real closet, the one in the storage unit across town where I kept my actual wardrobe, holding a Dior dress against myself. In the mirror, I looked like who I really was. Successful, polished, powerful. I hung it back up and drove to Goodwill. The dress I bought cost $12. Polyester that bunched wrong across the shoulders. A floral print that screamed clearance rack. Shoes with scuffed heels. A handbag with a broken clasp I had to hold shut. In my car, I practiced. Slouching my shoulders, making myself smaller, speaking softer. All the things I'd trained out of myself decades ago in corporate America. The Worthington estate sprawled across 5 acres in Connecticut. White columns, circular driveway, a fountain with actual marble cherubs. I parked my 15-year-old Honda between a Porsche and a Tesla. The door was answered by actual staff. A woman in a black dress and white apron took my coat, like this was a period drama. "Name, please." "Pauline Sterling." Desmond's mother. Something flickered in her eyes. "Pity? Maybe. Right this way." The foyer had a chandelier the size of my kitchen. Marble floors. A staircase that curved like something from a movie. People clustered in the main room beyond, their laughter sharp and bright. Tabitha appeared, stunning in champagne silk. "Mother Pauline! You made it!" She kissed my cheek. Her perfume probably cost more than my dress. "Come meet everyone." Everyone turned out to be about 50 people. Doctors, lawyers, investment bankers, women in jewelry that caught light like captured stars, men in suits cut so perfectly they looked painted on, and me, in my $12 dress. Vivienne swept over in emerald green. "Pauline! So glad you could make it." She took my arm, her grip tight. "Let me introduce you around." I watched her work. The careful phrasing, the strategic pauses. "This is Desmond's mother." She works in administration. Pauline raised Desmond all by herself, on a very limited income. She's been so brave, managing alone all these years. Brave, limited, alone. Each word carefully chosen to paint a picture. A woman in diamonds touched my arm. It must have been so hard. Raising a child on your own. We managed. I always admire women who persevere despite their circumstances. It takes real character to accept help when you need it. I hadn't asked for help, hadn't needed it. But that's not what she heard in Vivienne's careful introduction. Across the room, Desmond laughed with a group of men his age. He looked happy, confident. This was his future family, his new world. A waiter passed with champagne. Crystal flutes on a silver tray. He offered one to the woman next to me, then moved past me without stopping. "Oh, bring one for her too," the woman said kindly. Pitying, the waiter returned, his smile apologetic, like he hadn't meant to exclude the poor relation. I sipped champagne and smiled and let them see exactly what they expected to see. Later, I needed the bathroom. The first floor one had a line. I climbed the stairs, past oil paintings of Worthington ancestors, found a bathroom that was bigger than Desmond's childhood bedroom. On my way back, I heard voices. Vivienne's office door stood slightly open. "I don't care if she's family, Richard. We need to manage this situation." Vivienne's voice carried that edge. I recognized from conference calls when someone wasn't meeting projections. "The mother seems harmless enough." A male voice. "Older. Reginald's business partner, maybe? Harmless? She's a financial liability. What if she gets sick? Who do you think Desmond will turn to? Us. What if she needs money? What if she loses her job? These things have a way of becoming our problem." Papers rustled. "We're running a full background check. Credit history, employment verification, medical records if we can access them. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." My hand tightened on the banister. "And if there are issues, then we handle it, quietly. We've already discussed setting up a small trust. Monthly payments. Enough to keep her comfortable and away from needing Desmond's resources." "You mean paying her off?" "I mean taking care of family in a way that protects everyone's interests." I backed away slowly, descended the stairs on legs that shook with something that wasn't fear. It was rage, cold and clarifying. Back in the party, Vivienne found me. "There you are. I was just telling everyone about the wedding plans. We want to make sure Desmond and Tabitha have everything they need. We've already covered the down payment on their house. 20% down on a beautiful property in Westchester." She said it loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Generous parents. Supportive in-laws. That's very kind," I managed. "Well, we want to make sure they start their life together without stress, without burdens." Her eyes locked on mine. "Financial security is so important. Don't you think, Pauline?" The trap was closing. She was establishing herself as the provider, the one with resources, making sure everyone knew who held the power in this family dynamic. "Family takes care of family," I said carefully. "Exactly. I'm so glad you understand. Actually, I was hoping we could chat privately before you leave. Just a quick conversation. Mother to mother." Warning bells rang so loud I was surprised others couldn't hear them, but I smiled. Of course, what else could I say? This was Desmond's future, his happiness. I wouldn't ruin it with pride. Not yet, anyway. The drive home took 2 hours. I had time to think, time to plan, time to decide exactly what kind of test I would design for the Worthingtons, because now I knew. They didn't just look down on me. They saw me as a problem to be solved, a liability to be managed, something that could be handled with the right amount of money and manipulation. And I was going to give them exactly one more chance to prove me wrong. The restaurant Vivienne chose for our private chat was the kind of place where they didn't list prices on the menu. Cloth napkins folded into swans, waiters who moved like ghosts, background music so subtle you felt it more than heard it. I arrived early. Wore the same type of clothes I'd worn to the engagement party. Watched them seat me at a table by the kitchen. Not the windows, not the prestigious section. The table they gave to people who didn't matter. Vivienne arrived 15 minutes late. Reginald trailed behind her, checking his phone. She air-kissed near my cheeks. Pauline, thank you for meeting us. I know your schedule must be tight. They sat. Ordered without asking if I'd like anything. 2 glasses of wine that cost $40 each. We wanted to talk about Desmond and Tabitha's future, Vivienne began. She folded her hands on the table. Her rings caught light like small suns. We love your son. We truly do. He's wonderful for Tabitha. But, I prompted, but we're concerned. About the stress he's under. The pressure, Reginald leaned in. He mentioned that he worries about you. Your situation. He's mentioned possibly helping you with expenses once they're married. There it was. The thing they really feared. That I'd drain their daughter's resources. That I'd be a weight around Desmond's neck. I don't need Desmond's help, I said quietly. I've managed alone for 28 years. Of course you have. You're very independent, very proud. Vivienne's smile was gentle poison. But pride doesn't pay bills, does it? And as you get older, things become more difficult. Healthcare, housing, general expenses. A waiter appeared with menus. Vivienne waved him away. We're not eating. Just talking, so they hadn't even planned to feed me. This was an appointment. A meeting to handle a problem. We have a proposal, Reginald said. He pulled a folder from his briefcase, set it on the table between us. Inside were papers. Contract papers. We'd like to provide you with a monthly stipend. $500 to start. We can increase it as needed. It would give you financial security, peace of mind, and more importantly, it would give Desmond peace of mind. I stared at the numbers. $500. I spent more than that on dry cleaning. And in exchange, I asked. Vivienne's smile widened. Nothing dramatic. We just ask that you give the young couple space. Let them build their marriage. Maybe reduce the frequency of visits. We'd arrange for you to see Desmond on holidays, of course. Family is important. You're asking me to stay away from my son. We're asking you to let him grow, to not lean on him, to not make him feel obligated to choose between his mother and his wife. I've never made him choose anything, not consciously perhaps. Vivienne's voice dripped understanding. But adult children feel guilty when their parents struggle. They feel responsible. We're offering to remove that burden from Desmond's shoulders. Reginald pushed the folder closer. We've already discussed this with our attorney. Everything is legal and above board. The payments would come from a trust we'd establish, completely separate from Desmond and Tabitha's finances. They wouldn't even need to know the details. They'd planned this, researched it, had legal documents drawn up. This wasn't a spontaneous idea. This was a strategy they'd been working on for months. Can I think about it? I heard myself ask. Of course. Vivienne's shoulders relaxed. Take a few days. We know it's a big decision, but we really do believe it's best for everyone. Especially Desmond. They left me sitting there. Walked out without paying for their wine, without asking if I needed a ride, without a single question about who I was beyond the problem they'd decided I represented. I sat in that expensive restaurant, at the kitchen table, with a contract that valued my relationship with my son at $500 a month, and I made a decision. I would give them one final test, one last chance to see past their assumptions and their prejudices. I'd attend a dinner, play my role perfectly, be everything they expected me to be, and I would watch. Watch how they treated someone they believed had nothing. Watch how they spoke to someone they thought was beneath them. Watch how they handled power when they believed they had all of it. Then I'd decide whether to reveal the truth kindly or teach them a lesson they'd never forget. The phone call came 2 weeks later. Desmond's voice bubbled with nervous excitement. Mom, Tabitha's parents want to take us all to dinner. This Saturday. They specifically asked for you to be there. They want to get to know you better before the wedding. Get to know me. Right. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. It's at Celestine's, that French place downtown. Really nice. I mean, really nice, Mom. They're paying for everything. He was warning me. Gently. Preparing me for how fancy it would be. Worried I'd feel out of place. I'd negotiated deals in that restaurant's private dining room. Had closed a $30 million contract over their duck confit. I'll be there, I promised. 7 o'clock. Don't worry about how you dress or anything. Just be yourself. Be myself. The irony made me smile. After we hung up, I went to my storage unit. Stood among my real clothes, my real shoes, my real life. Then I locked it all away and went shopping at the thrift store one final time. Saturday morning arrived, cold and sharp. I spent the day preparing. Not my outfit that was already chosen, but my mind, my resolve, my certainty that this test was necessary. At 4 o'clock, I showered. Let my hair air dry into its natural silver waves. No product, no style. Just pulled it into a messy bun with a rubber band. The grey dress hung in my closet like a flag of surrender. I put it on slowly, felt it hang loose around my shoulders. Too big, shapeless, exactly wrong, perfect. The shoes I'd scuffed myself with sandpaper, made them look worn, walked through puddles. The canvas bag had a coffee stain I'd added with deliberate care. In the mirror, I looked like someone life had beaten down, someone who'd given up on appearances. I pulled out my phone, texted my driver. Asterisk. Edmund, pick me up at 6:30, but drop me 3 blocks from Celestine's. I'll walk the rest. Asterisk. Asterisk. Understood, Miss Sterling. Shall I wait nearby? Asterisk. Asterisk. Yes. I may need a quick exit. Asterisk. At 6:15, I made one more call. Jenkins, it's Pauline. I need you to do something for me tonight. My assistant's voice came alert immediately. Of course. What do you need? If I text you the word verification, I need you to pull my employment records. Every promotion, every salary increase, every major deal I've closed. Send it to my phone within 5 minutes. A pause. Is everything all right? It will be. One way or another, the Mercedes pulled up at 6:30 sharp. Edmund held the door. He didn't comment on my outfit, though his eyes registered surprise. 3 blocks from Celestine's, I reminded him. Yes, ma'am. We rode in silence. The city lights blurred past. I watched my reflection in the tinted window, practiced my posture. Shoulders curved inward, head slightly down, eyes that didn't quite meet anyone's gaze directly. We're here, Edmund said quietly. I stepped out onto the sidewalk. Cold November air bit through the thin dress. I should have brought a real coat, but someone who struggled wouldn't have one. Are you certain about this, Miss Sterling? Edmund's concern was genuine. Completely. Wait for my text. I walked the 3 blocks slowly. Let people pass me without acknowledgement. Just another older woman in a cheap dress, heading somewhere that probably wasn't important. Celestine's appeared like a jewel box. Gold lights spilled from tall windows. The entrance was all glass and brass. A burgundy awning stretched to the curb. I paused outside, watched the valet open doors for couples in evening wear, saw my reflection one more time in the glass. Then I pushed through into warmth and light and the final act of a test 23 years in the making. Desmond stood near the windows. He wore a charcoal suit I'd never seen. Must have been new. Probably bought for occasions like this. Tabitha beside him in cream silk, pearls at her throat. And there, already seated at a round table with the best view in the house, sat Reginald and Vivienne Worthington, holding court like royalty. Vivienne's emerald dress probably cost $5,000. The diamonds at her throat and wrists caught every light, throwing rainbows across the white tablecloth. Reginald's suit was Savile Row. I could tell from 30 feet away. His watch was Patek Philippe. I'd bought the same model for my CEO's retirement gift. I shuffled forward. Made myself smaller. Let my shoulders curve. Desmond's eyes met mine. Something flashed across his face. Shock, maybe, or embarrassment. His jaw tightened. Mum. He came to me quickly, kissed my cheek. You made it. Of course, sweetheart, I wouldn't miss it. Tabitha appeared at his shoulder. Mother Pauline, so good to see you. Her hug was brief, perfunctory. Her eyes did what eyes do, catalogued everything. The dress, the shoes, the bag with its broken clasp. We approached the table. Vivienne looked up. Her smile could have frozen wine. Pauline! Welcome! She extended a limp hand. Barely touched my fingers. So glad you could join us. Reginald stood. His handshake was the kind men give when they're going through motions. No grip, no connection, a formality. Good to see you, he said to the space past my shoulder. The chair they indicated was at the end. Furthest from the windows, furthest from the center of conversation. The spot you put people you're obligated to include, but wish you weren't. I sat. No one helped with my coat. No one asked about my trip here. No one commented on anything except Vivienne saying, Well, shall we order? Menus arrived. Leather-bound. Heavy. French words I'd ordered from 100 times swimming across cream pages. No prices listed anywhere. Vivienne watched me open mine. Watched my eyes scan the unfamiliar words. The menu can be a bit overwhelming if you're not used to this type of cuisine. Why don't we order for you? Something simple. Not too complicated. Her kindness was a blade wrapped in silk. That would be helpful, I said softly. I don't really understand these fancy French words. Of course you don't. No reason you would. She smiled at the waiter. Very simple preparation. The waiter nodded. Started to ask me if I'd like anything to drink. Water's fine, I said before he could finish. Just water. Vivienne tilted her head. We're having wine. It's a celebration. Water's fine, I repeated. I'm not used to drinking. Something sparked in her eyes. Not meanness, exactly. More like confirmation. She'd been right about me all along. Reginald ordered a bottle of Bordeaux. From a vineyard we visited last spring. Vivienne and I try to travel to wine country twice a year. Italy, France, sometimes California. It's important to educate your palate, don't you think? He wasn't asking me. He was informing me. Letting me know about a world I'd never access. Sounds nice, I offered. It's really about appreciating quality. Understanding what excellence tastes like. You can't get that from a bottle at the grocery store. His laugh invited others to join in. Desmond didn't laugh. His knuckles were white around his water glass. The wine arrived. Vivienne performed the tasting ritual like theatre. Swirled, sniffed, sipped, pronounced it acceptable. This bottle is $250, she mentioned casually. But worth every penny for an occasion like this. Getting to know family. She raised her glass. Everyone followed. Except me. With my water. To family, Vivienne declared. And to honest conversations, the words landed heavy. Appetizers arrived. Tiny portions arranged like art. Vivienne cut into her scallops with surgical precision. So, Pauline, Desmond mentioned you've lived in the same apartment for quite a while. 18 years. About that, yes. Rent must be manageable in an older building, especially in a neighborhood that's still transitional. Code for not good enough. I get by. Do you have savings? The question came fast. A retirement plan? At your age, these things become so important. At my age. I was 62. She was probably 58 but would never admit it. I'm careful with money, I said. Vivienne sighed like she was bearing a great weight. It must be difficult, living on such a limited income, especially knowing your son is starting his life, probably wanting to help but unable to. Mum's always been independent, Desmond interjected. His voice had an edge. Independence is admirable, Reginald agreed, but it can also be stubbornness, pride that prevents people from accepting help when they need it. I don't need help, I said quietly. Everyone needs help sometimes. Vivienne set down her fork. That's what family is for. Those who can should support those who can't. It's how society functions. She was painting the picture, those who can them. The main courses arrived. My chicken looked modest next to their steaks and fish. Smaller portion, less expensive cut. This cost $85 per plate, Vivienne informed the table. She cut into her steak, red juice pooling. Worth it for quality beef. Yours is more economical, Pauline. We thought it best. No need to go overboard. Economical. She'd ordered the cheap option for me without asking what I wanted. Tabitha pushed food around her plate, looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Desmond tells us you work in administration, Reginald said. What exactly does that involve? Filing, organizing, data entry, whatever the office needs. Honest work, he said in a tone that made it sound small. Unimportant. Someone has to do those jobs. I suppose. Someone has to, I agreed. We believe in creating value, Vivienne continued, building something meaningful, making an impact. That's what we raised Tabitha to do. That's what we've built our lives around. Impact. As if organizing files made no impact. As if the people who kept offices running were invisible. Tabitha had every advantage, Vivienne continued. Private schools. Summers abroad. Yale for undergraduate. Columbia for her MBA. All paid for. She never had to worry about loans or debt. We believe in investing in our children's futures. She paused. Let it sink in. Let everyone at the table understand the contrast. When Desmond and Tabitha got married, we helped significantly. The down payment on their house was $50,000. The honeymoon in Italy, 3 weeks, cost $20,000. That's what parents do when they can. When they can. The words hung like an accusation. She turned to me. Were you able to help with the wedding, Pauline? I know you wanted to contribute. The trap was perfect. If I said yes, I'd be lying. If I said no, I'd confirm everything she believed about me. I gave what I could. A small gift. How sweet. Vivienne's smile could cut glass. Every bit helps, doesn't it? It's the thought that counts, not the amount. Desmond's chair scraped. We don't need to... Nonsense, Vivienne interrupted. We're family now. We should be honest with each other. She leaned forward. Pauline, Reginald and I wanted to discuss something important tonight. Something we've been thinking about for a while. Here it came. The real reason for this dinner. We love Desmond like our own son. We want to support him and Tabitha as they build their life together. I waited. Desmond worries about you. Your situation. Your finances. He's mentioned it to Tabitha several times, and while that shows what a good son he is, we don't want his concern for you to become a burden on his marriage. Burden. That word again. We'd like to help, Reginald added. We could provide you with a monthly allowance. Nothing extravagant, $500 or $600. Enough to ease your stress, to help with expenses. It would give Desmond peace of mind, Vivienne pressed. Knowing you're taken care of, that you're not struggling, and in return, she continued, her voice honey-sweet and absolutely poisonous. We'd only ask that you give the young couple space. Not lean on them so much. Let them build their life together without feeling obligated to constantly check on you. To support you financially or otherwise. The restaurant sounds faded. Everything narrowed to this moment. This offer. This test completed. They were offering me $600 a month to disappear from my son's life. My vision sharpened, my hands steadied, something in my chest unlocked. That's very generous, I said. My voice came out different, clearer, stronger. The voice I used in boardrooms when someone underestimated me. Vivienne's confident smile faltered. Just slightly. $600 a month. To stay away from my son. To not be a burden on his marriage. To let you control his life without interference from his embarrassing poor mother. I wouldn't phrase it quite like, how much did you say you gave for the house down payment? The question stopped her cold. $50,000. She recovered. And the honeymoon. 20,000. Pride crept back into her voice. 3 weeks in Tuscany, private villa, wine tours, cooking classes. So $70,000 total. Quite an investment. We don't see it as an investment, Reginald said stiffly. We see it as love. Of course. I set down my fork. Carefully. Precisely. Tell me something, Vivienne. In all your travels to wine country and your private schools and your Italian villas, did you ever learn the difference between generosity and control? Silence dropped like a curtain. Excuse me? You've spent this entire meal measuring my worth. My clothes, my job, my apartment, my life. You looked at me and saw someone beneath you, someone you could dismiss, someone you could buy off and move aside like furniture that doesn't match your decor. I think you're misunderstanding. I'm not misunderstanding anything. The words cut clean. You've made it crystal clear what you think of me. A poor, pathetic mother who couldn't provide for her son. A burden who needs to be managed, handled, paid off to stay out of the way. Desmond stared. Tabitha's hand flew to her mouth. I reached into my canvas tote bag, the one they'd looked at with such barely concealed disgust when I arrived. My phone came out. Newest model. Black case. Simple. I opened my banking app, turned the screen toward Vivienne. Her champagne glass froze halfway to her lips again, like we'd come full circle back to where this story began. But now the others could see too. See her face drain of color. See her eyes lock on numbers that wouldn't stop being real. $847,293.52. Below it, the monthly deposit, $42,000. After taxes. That can't be real, Vivienne whispered. The same words. Different context. Horror replacing superiority. Reginald grabbed the phone. His hands shook worse this time, because now he understood what he was looking at. Now the implications were sinking in. Monthly salary, I said calmly. After taxes. Senior Vice President of Global Operations. Meridian Technologies. Tabitha made a sound like she'd been punched. Desmond's face had gone completely white. Mom, for 23 years, I continued, I've been one of the highest-ranking executives in the tech industry. I manage operations across 4 continents. My division generates over $2 billion in annual revenue. I negotiate contracts your father couldn't dream of understanding, Reginald. Vivienne's mouth opened and closed. No sound emerged. I live in that apartment because I choose to. I wear simple clothes because I have nothing to prove to anyone. I never told Desmond because I wanted him to build his own life, make his own money, value his own achievements. Not coast on mine, not live in my shadow. I pulled my wallet from the tote bag. The leather was premium. They just couldn't have known from the outside. The corporate card came out. Black metal. Silver lettering. I placed it on the table in front of Vivienne. That's my corporate card. Unlimited spending for business expenses. Use it to pay for dinner tonight. Consider it a gift from the poor. Pathetic mother. You thought you could buy off with $600 a month. Vivienne stared at the card like it might come alive. You offered me an allowance. My voice was ice over steel. I earn more in 3 days than you gave Desmond and Tabitha for their entire down payment. The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other diners pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. This is outrageous, Reginald found his voice. It came out strangled. You lied to everyone. You deceived us. You let us think. I let you show me exactly who you are, I interrupted. People who measure human worth in bank statements. Who treat anyone they think is beneath them like trash. Who smile while they insult and offer help that's really just control. I stood. My worn shoes suddenly felt like armor. My cheap dress like a costume I was done wearing. I gave you every opportunity, every single chance to be kind, to be decent, to treat me with basic human respect regardless of what you thought I had or didn't have. And you failed, spectacularly. Mom, wait. Desmond's voice cracked. His eyes were wet. You needed to see this too, sweetheart. Who they really are when they think no one important is watching. When they believe they have all the power. When kindness is optional because the other person doesn't matter. I picked up my bag, walked past tables where people quickly looked away. This doesn't change anything. Vivienne's voice rose, shrill and desperate. You still deceived us. You're still... I didn't turn around. Kept walking. The valet already had the door open. He'd been watching through the glass. Cold November air hit my face like baptism. I pulled out my phone. 3 rings. Edmund? I'm ready. Yes, miss. Sterling. 30 seconds. The Mercedes pulled up. Black and sleek and real. Edmund stepped out in full uniform. Opened the back door. Difficult dinner? He asked quietly. Educational, I replied. Through the restaurant's windows, I could see them. Desmond on his feet, Tabitha pulling him back, Vivienne gesturing wildly, Reginald's face red as a warning light. My phone started buzzing. Desmond's name flashing on screen. Then Tabitha. Edmund pulled into traffic. The restaurant disappeared behind us. Home, Miss Sterling? I thought about my apartment. My real apartment with the clanking radiator and the second-hand furniture, and the truth I'd built there, brick by brick, for 23 years. No, take me to the office. I have some thinking to do. 20 minutes later, I stood in my corner office on the 47th floor. The city spread below like a circuit board of lights. My desk sat exactly as I'd left it Friday afternoon. Files organized, computer in sleep mode. A photo of Desmond at his college graduation. The only personal item I allowed myself here. I changed out of the grey dress. I kept real clothes in the office closet for exactly this reason. Slacks, silk blouse, shoes that fit properly. In the bathroom mirror, I looked like myself again. Pauline Sterling, Senior Vice President. Woman who'd climbed every rung of this ladder on her own merit. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. I finally looked. Desmond. Mum, please. We need to talk. Desmond. I had no idea. About any of it. Desmond, I'm so sorry. For all of it. Tabitha. Mrs. Sterling. Please call Desmond. He's very upset. Tabitha. My parents are. Then the unknown number. A text from area code 203, Connecticut. Unknown. This is Vivienne. We need to speak immediately. This is unacceptable. Unknown. You deliberately humiliated us. We were only trying to help. Unknown. Desmond is furious with us. You've poisoned him against his own family. I set the phone down, looked out at the city. At the empire I'd helped build. At the life I'd lived in 2 halves for more than 2 decades. What had I done? I'd exposed them, proven a point, won the battle. But what had I cost Desmond? His relationship with his in-laws? His marriage? Potentially? His peace? A knock at the door made me turn. Jenkins stood there. My assistant. She should have been home hours ago. I saw your car pull in. Thought you might need coffee. She held out a cup. I took it. You're working late. Big presentation Monday. But that's not why I stayed. She sat in the chair across from my desk without asking. We'd worked together for 15 years. Formality had long since dissolved. What happened? I told her. All of it. The dinner. The test. The reveal. The aftermath still unfolding in my buzzing phone. When I finished, Jenkins was quiet for a long moment. Did you do the right thing? She finally asked. I don't know. Then let me tell you what I see. She leaned forward. I see a woman who spent 23 years protecting her son, who sacrificed recognition and pride and connection to give him something invaluable. And when people tried to take advantage of that sacrifice, tried to use it to control him and remove you from his life, you showed them the cost of their cruelty. I humiliated them. They humiliated themselves. You just held up a mirror. My phone buzzed again. Desmond's face filled the screen. I answered. Mum. His voice was thick. Where are you? At the office. Can I come there? Please. I need to see you. I need to understand. I looked at Jenkins. She nodded and slipped out, closing the door behind her. You know where it is? I asked. I'll figure it out. Text me the address. 20 minutes later, my son stood in my office doorway. He'd been here before. Once. When he was 6. Before I started hiding everything. He'd played with my stapler while I finished a contract negotiation. He'd thought it was the tallest building in the world. Now he walked in slowly, looked around, took in the view. The desk. The photos of corporate retreats and industry awards on the wall. The framed Bloomberg article featuring me from 3 years ago. This is real, he said. Not a question. A statement of fact he was still processing. Yes, 23 years. Yes. He sank into the leather chair where Jenkins had sat, put his head in his hands. I thought you struggled. I thought you barely made ends meet. I thought... His voice broke. I felt sorry for you. I worried about you. I know. Why? He looked up. His eyes were red. Why would you do this? Why would you let me think you were poor when you were... He gestured at the office. The city view. Everything. I sat across from him. Not behind my desk. Just mother and son with truth finally between us. Your father left because he couldn't handle my success. He couldn't be married to a woman who out-earned him, who had more power, more recognition. It made him feel small. Desmond nodded. He knew this part, or thought he did. I didn't want you to ever feel that way, to ever measure yourself against me and feel like you came up short. I wanted you to build your own life, make your own achievements, be proud of what you accomplished without wondering if it was only because of me. So you hid. For 2 decades, I gave you room to grow. You lied to me. The words hit like they should. Yes, I admitted. I lied. We sat in silence. The office felt too big, too empty, the city lights too bright. Vivienne and Reginald have been calling, Desmond said finally. Trying to explain. To apologize. Reginald said they were testing you, making sure you weren't after Tabitha's family money. And you believe that? No. He said it fast. Certain. I saw their faces, Mum. Started again. They treated you like you were nothing, like you didn't matter. And I sat there and let them. You didn't know. I should have stopped them anyway. Rich or poor, you're my mother. They had no right to talk to you that way. No, I agreed. Tabitha is devastated. She's furious with her parents. She knew they could be snobs but didn't realize how bad it was. She's been apologizing to me for hours. Crying. This isn't her fault. Isn't it, though? Desmond stood, paced to the window. She grew up with that. With parents who measure people in dollars. Who think being wealthy makes them better. How much of that did she absorb? You'd know better than me. He turned. She defended you. After you left, she told her parents they should be ashamed, that they'd shown themselves to be exactly what you said they were. Small, petty, cruel. And her parents are trying to rewrite history, saying you entrapped them, that you should have been honest from the start, that this is all your fault for being deceptive. Of course they were. People like the Worthingtons never accepted responsibility for their own behavior. What do you think? I asked. Desmond came back to the chair. Saturday looked at me with eyes that were his father's shape, but my color. I think you gave them a test. And they failed. Completely. He paused. I think you gave me a gift I didn't appreciate, and I think I understand now why you did it, even if I'm still angry about the lying part. You're allowed to be angry. I'm also proud. His voice caught. So incredibly proud. Senior Vice President, $2 billion in revenue, 4 continents. Mum, you're amazing. You're powerful. You're successful. And I never knew. You are too. Everything you've built. Your job, your marriage, your life. You did that. Not me. That's all you. But what if I'd known? What if I'd grown up knowing my mum was this titan of industry? Maybe I would have tried harder, aimed higher. Or maybe you would have felt like nothing you did would ever be enough. Maybe you would have stopped trying because the bar was set too high. We stared at each other, both right, both wrong, both trying to navigate a truth that had finally come to light. "What happens now?" Desmond asked. "I don't know. What do you want to happen?" "I want you in my life. Really in it. Not hiding. Not pretending. I want to know who you really are. Even if that changes everything." Everything already changed. The moment you pulled out that phone. He almost smiled. "That was incredibly dramatic, by the way. Very movie moment. I've had 23 years to plan it. Did you know? When you walked in there tonight, did you know you were going to do it? I knew I'd give them one last chance. I knew if they treated me with basic human decency, I'd tell them the truth gently, privately. But the moment Vivienne offered me $600 to disappear from your life, I shook my head. That's when I knew. They needed to learn it the hard way. They learned something, all right." Desmond stood. "I should get back. Tabitha is waiting. We have a lot to talk about. About her parents, about boundaries, about what kind of relationship we can have with them going forward. And us?" I asked quietly. He came around the desk, pulled me into a hug. "We'll figure it out. We have time now. All the time in the world. No more secrets." "No more secrets," I agreed. After he left, I stayed in my office, watched the city breathe below me. The lights of lives being lived in truth and in deception, in whole stories and in halves. My phone buzzed one more time. Not Desmond or Tabitha or Vivienne, the unknown number from before. A voicemail this time. I almost didn't listen, almost deleted it. But curiosity won. Reginald's voice. Formal, stiff. "Miss Sterling, this is Reginald Worthington. I'm calling to apologize. For tonight. For our assumptions. For our behavior. You were right. About all of it. We treated you abominably because we thought we could. Because we thought you didn't matter. That was wrong. Deeply wrong." A pause. Breathing. "Vivienne wants me to say we were misled. That you should have been honest. But I watched you tonight. Watched how you carried yourself with dignity, even when we were cutting you down. You owed us nothing. Certainly not the truth about your success. We owed you respect, regardless of your bank account, and we failed to give it." Another pause. "Longer. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to accept this apology. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. What you were teaching us. What we needed to learn. Some lessons only land when they cost us something. Tonight cost us our dignity. Our credibility. Maybe our relationship with our daughter and son-in-law. That's on us. Not on you." The voicemail ended. I saved it. Not because I forgave them. Not because it changed what they'd done. But because it was proof. That sometimes, just sometimes, people learned from their mistakes. 3 days later, I walked into work like always. Jenkins had coffee waiting. The morning briefing was at 9. Contracts to review. Calls to make. Empire to run. But at 10:30, my office phone rang. Internal line. "Pauline? It's David. My CEO. Can you come up? Someone's here asking for you." I took the elevator to the 52nd floor. David's corner office was twice the size of mine. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Furniture that cost more than cars. Desmond sat in one of the leather chairs. He stood when I entered. "Surprise," he said sheepishly. "I took a personal day. Wanted to see where you really work. Where you've been all these years." David smiled. "Your son was just telling me he had no idea what you did here. I was explaining that his mother is the best executive I've ever worked with, that she's saved this company more times than I can count." "David's being generous," I said. "David's being honest," he corrected. "Desmond, your mother negotiated our biggest contract in company history. Single-handedly saved 3 divisions from closure. mentored more junior executives than anyone else in our leadership team. She's not just good at her job, she's legendary. Desmond looked at me with something like awe. Can I see your office? Meet your team. I want to know this part of you. I spent the next 2 hours showing him my real life, Jenkins and her dry wit, the operations team and their controlled chaos, the conference room where I'd yelled at a vendor for trying to cheat us, the cafeteria where I ate lunch most days at the same corner table. You're different here, Desmond observed. More confident, stronger. I'm more myself, I corrected. This is who I am when I'm not pretending to be someone smaller. At lunch in the corner table, surrounded by colleagues who knew me as Pauline Sterling, not struggling single mother, Desmond asked the question I'd been expecting. Do you regret it? Any of it? I thought about 23 years, about choices made in hospital rooms and thrift stores, about tests and truths and the cost of both. I regret that you felt you had to worry about me. I regret that I couldn't share this part of my life with you. I regret that the Worthingtons showed you who they really are in such a painful way. But I don't regret that you built your own success. I don't regret that you value your own achievements. I don't regret teaching the Worthingtons a lesson they desperately needed to learn. And I don't regret that we're here now, together. In truth, Desmond reached across the cafeteria table, took my hand. Tabitha wants to meet with you. Talk. Reset everything. She's mortified by her parents. She's set boundaries with them. They're not happy about it. I imagine not. Will you meet with her? I thought about Tabitha. Young. Caught between her parents' values and her own integrity. Trying to navigate a marriage built on foundations that had just been exposed as rotten. Yes, I'll meet with her. Thank you. He squeezed my hand. For everything. For the sacrifice. For the lesson. For finally letting me see all of you. That night, I went home to my modest apartment. The one I'd lived in for 18 years. The one that had been my costume and my test and my truth all at once. I walked through rooms that suddenly felt different. The second-hand couch. The old television. The clanking radiator. I could change it all now. Could move somewhere impressive. Buy new furniture. Install central heating. But I didn't want to. This apartment had taught me something too. That worth isn't measured in granite countertops or square footage. That a life lived with intention and purpose matters more than appearances. That hiding had been protection, yes, but it had also been freedom. Freedom from judgment, from expectations, from people who only valued the surface. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. Miss Sterling, this is Tabitha. I was wondering if we could meet for coffee this week. Just the two of us. I'd like to apologize properly and get to know you. The real you, if you're willing. I typed back. Thursday at 3? There's a coffee shop near my office. I'll text you the address. Tabitha. Thank you. I'll be there. Thursday came wrapped in weak November sunshine. I met Tabitha at the coffee shop, where I'd been having lunch meetings for a decade. She arrived early, nervous. Ordered tea she didn't drink. I don't know where to start, she admitted when I sat down. Start anywhere, I offered. I'm ashamed. Of my parents. Of how they treated you. Of how I sat there and let it happen. Her eyes filled. I knew they could be snobs. Knew they judged people, but I'd never seen it like that. So cruel. So calculating. You were in an impossible position. I should have stopped them. Should have stood up for you regardless of who you were or what you had. That was wrong. Yes, I agreed. She flinched, but didn't look away. Desmond is furious with them. With me for not seeing it sooner. With himself for not protecting you. It's tearing him apart. He'll heal. You both will. My parents want to apologize to you in person. They've written letters. They want to meet. They're desperate to fix this. What do you want, Tabitha? She looked surprised. What I want? Yes. Not your parents. Not Desmond. You. What do you want to happen now? She was quiet for a long time. I want to know you. Really know you. Not who my parents assumed you were. Not who Desmond thought you were. Who you actually are. Why? Because you're my mother-in-law. Because you're important to Desmond. And because, she paused, because you did something I've never had the courage to do. You let people underestimate you and then proved them wrong. You stood up to my parents in a way I never have. You taught them something I've been too scared to teach them myself. What's that? That they don't get to control everything. That money doesn't equal worth. That cruelty has consequences. I sipped my coffee. Studied this young woman who'd married my son. Saw something in her I hadn't noticed before. Strength trying to break through generations of conditioning. Your parents did raise you with certain values, I said carefully. Values about success and wealth and social position. But they also raised someone capable of recognizing when those values are wrong. That's worth something. Is it enough? That depends on what you do with it. We talked for 2 hours. About her childhood. About pressure and expectations. About loving parents who'd given her everything except the freedom to fail. About Desmond and their marriage, and the cracks that had appeared in foundations neither had examined before. What happens with your parents is up to you, I told her finally. But what happens between us is separate. We can build something new. Something real. I'd like that, she whispered. Over the next weeks, pieces shifted and settled. Desmond came to my real apartment. Saw where I'd actually lived. Understood the deliberate choice of it. Tabitha and I had coffee twice more, then lunch. Then she asked to visit my office again. This time, without Desmond. Wanted to see what women could build when they stopped apologizing for their own success. The Worthingtons sent letters. Formal, stilted, apologetic, but still centered on their own discomfort rather than their actual wrongdoing. I didn't respond. Some lessons took time to fully learn, but Reginald showed up at my office one Tuesday afternoon. No appointment, just asked security to call up. Said he'd wait as long as necessary. Jenkins buzzed me. There's a Reginald Worthington in the lobby. Should I send him away? I almost said yes. Almost let him sit there until he gave up and left. Send him up. He entered my office like he was approaching a judge. Formal. Careful. Nothing like the confident man who'd lectured me about value creation over $85 steak. Miss Sterling, thank you for seeing me. You have 10 minutes, he nodded. Didn't sit. Just stood there, in his expensive suit, looking smaller than he should. I came to apologize. In person. Without excuses. Without explanations about how we were misled or confused. We were cruel. We were wrong. We judged you and treated you abominably because we thought we could. Because we thought you didn't matter. And now? Now I understand that how we treat people when we think they don't matter is the true measure of our character. And ours was found severely lacking. I let the silence stretch. Watched him stand there taking it. Accepting it. Vivienne and I have started therapy, he continued. We're examining our values, our behavior, the way we've measured worth all these years. It's uncomfortable. Necessary. Long overdue. Good for you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be friends. I just wanted you to know that you changed something. In us. In how we see the world. That's worth something. Even if we never have a relationship beyond this conversation. He turned to leave. Hand on the door. Reginald. He looked back. Changing is the beginning. Doing better is what matters. Show your daughter you learned something. Don't just talk about values. Live them, he nodded. I will. We will. After he left, I sat at my desk for a long time, thinking about tests and lessons, about cruelty and kindness, about the cost of both. My phone rang. Desmond. Hey, Mum. Want to come to dinner Sunday? Tabitha's cooking. Just the 3 of us. No parents, no tests, no pretending, just family. I'd love that. Good. Come as yourself, all of yourself, the VP and the mum, the woman in the corner office, and the woman who lived in that apartment for 18 years. I want to know both. I want to know all of you. Okay, I whispered. Okay, Sunday dinner happened in their kitchen. Tabitha made lasagna from scratch. Desmond set the table. I brought wine from the restaurant where I'd destroyed their parents' assumptions. We talked about real things. My job. Desmond's career goals. Tabitha's complicated feelings about her family. The future they were building together with new foundations. Do you think they'll ever really change? Tabitha asked. My parents, I think they're trying. Whether that translates to actual change depends on how much discomfort they're willing to sit with. I set boundaries, she said. No more comments about money or status or who's important. No more measuring people by their bank accounts. If they can't respect that, they don't get access to us, to our future children. How did they take it? Not well, but that's not my problem to fix. After dinner, we sat on their back porch. The neighborhood was quiet, suburban, safe, the kind of place Desmond had built for himself without my money or my influence. I'm proud of you, I told him, of everything you've become, of the life you've built, of the man you are, even though I didn't know the truth, especially because you didn't know. You did this. All of it. That was the gift I gave you. The space to become yourself. He leaned his head on my shoulder. My tall son who still needed his mother sometimes. What would you tell someone going through something similar? Tabitha asked. Someone dealing with family who treats people badly based on status or money or appearance? I thought about it. About tests and truths and consequences. I'd tell them that true wealth isn't what's in your bank account. It's character, integrity. How you treat people when you have nothing to gain from kindness. I'd tell them that being underestimated is sometimes a gift. It shows you who people really are. And I'd tell them that standing up for yourself, for your dignity, for your worth, that's not cruelty, that's survival. If you've ever been judged for what you don't have instead of who you are, you know that ache. If you've ever been treated as less than because of how you look or where you live or what you do, this story is for you. Remember that your worth isn't determined by anyone else's opinion. True class is how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from them. To anyone dealing with family members who measure your value in dollars or status, hear this. You don't owe them access to your life. You don't owe them patience with their cruelty. Set your boundaries, protect your peace. And never let anyone make you feel small just because they can't see your worth. What lesson hit you hardest from this story? And if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have revealed the truth the same way or handled it differently? Don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen right now and watch another powerful story from our channel. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you would have done. Let me know if you've ever been underestimated and proved people wrong. Your story matters. See you in the next one.